We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships.
This is the Couples Academy Show.
Welcome. This is the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
And I'm Danielle.
And we are here for another great morning. I think it's Wednesday today.
Yeah.
And listen, we had such an engaging, empowering conversation on yesterday that we're going to continue today. We were talking about, are you stuck in a miserable relationship? Many of you know what that's like, but we're here to have another conversation about it, a part 2, because it was so engaging. But listen, let's first welcome the people.
Well, I want to welcome my people, and if you're new to the show, and I hope you are because this show is growing, I need you to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a show. And when you come on, say hello, because if you don't say anything, we don't know you're there. And make sure you let us know where you're coming from. So let's get down to the ritual and say hello to our people. I see you, Nigel. Good morning from Trinidad. Zach from Ohio. Tiffany from Dallas, Texas. We got JG from LA. Hello, LA. We have A. Marie from Virginia. Let's see, what else we got? Yes, it is hump day, my sister, and we are making it. We're pushing it through. Yesterday, we were a little bit tired, right? But today, we got a little bit more energy to bring to the show today. We've got Motia from South Africa. Okay. Baytown, Texas. Never heard of Baytown, Texas. We've got Fondra from Memphis, Tennessee, California, coming in Tennessee again. Guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for letting us know that this message matters. We want to be a beacon to all marriages across the world and let you know you can do this. You can accomplish the vision that you set out for, which is to have a marriage that is successful and parts at death. Till death do we part.
There it is. So we were talking about this conversation, and I have been telling Danielle, listen, Danielle, we need some time. We've been working from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. I said, we need some time. Let's go watch a movie or something.
Can't see in the morning to can't see at night.
There it is. So we went up in the bedroom, we turned on Netflix, and I was just excited because I saw these 2 powerful actors that just came out in the new movie, and the name of the movie is called Malcolm and Marie.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, if you have not seen this movie, you need to watch it.
Yeah.
It was pretty deep. Like, to me, it was the epitome of toxicity. Okay, so if you want to know what a miserable relationship looks like, watch that movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a roller coaster ride, right? You get on it and it was like, okay, where are we going with this? And it's loving and then it's hate, and then it was love again and then it was hate, and it was just back and forth, and it was so toxic in so many ways, but very relatable too. Not necessarily the entire experience, because the way that it was, is this kind of a spoiler alert?
Well, you don't have to give the details because they should watch it.
Right. But at the end of the day, there was so much realness in it that you could take away being in relationships and understand that love and hate relationship that we have with each other from time to time when we're going through things. And, when we come into these relationships, we come from a place and we bring our injuries with us. And it's almost like sometimes we choose somebody who will help continue the trauma. And we see that depicted in there as well.
One of my favorite movies, I'm going to just let the cat out the bag. One of my favorite movies was Baby Boy. Now, if you remember watching Baby Boy back in the day, you had Jodie and Yvette, and they had this highly toxic relationship. And it was just like, oh my God, all the drama. And so it's not like that, but the intensity of that times 10. Yeah.
I see Louisa is saying, we watched it last night, so you know what we're talking about, right? I'm sure you can relate to, okay, there are certain times in my relationship where I kind of actually felt like that. And maybe some of you who are listening right now kind of feel like that right now in your relationship. But it does show the ebb and flow in a compact amount of time, like less than 2 hours. It shows you the highs and the lows.
So we're talking about, are you trapped in a miserable relationship? What do you do? How do you get unstuck? We gave some points on yesterday, but we want to jump right into the conversation and give you guys what it is. So the next step you have to do continuing. Is that a word?
It is today.
Continuing from yesterday.
It is today.
Ask what your partner needs and what he or she has been feeling about your marriage. This requires a conversation. And at the end of the day, many of you, listen, if you could write a rule down, this is a big nugget. Don't talk about your feelings when you're in your feelings.
Ooh.
Did you get that? I'll say that again. Don't talk about your feelings when you're in your feelings, because if you're mad, if you're angry, if you're sad, if you're emotional, trust and believe it's going to intoxicate that conversation.
What? On the other side of that, don't force your partner to talk when they're in their feelings.
There it is.
It goes both ways, y'all. We have to know each other, right? So if I want to talk about something, I know he's in his feelings and he doesn't want to talk, I'm not going to force it out of him. And sometimes we do that. We don't give our partner space to get calm and to get centered so that they can talk to you without arguing with you.
And you have all of these defense mechanisms. You are ready. You're coming with your dukes up. You're coming with your guard up. You're coming with the wall up. And nothing that is said will ever make any sense, because you can't bring an emotional atmosphere into a logical conversation, because emotions are not logical. They don't make sense. But at the core of it all, if you're trapped or stuck in a miserable relationship, you want to figure out, well, how did we get here in the first place? It couldn't have been like this from the beginning, because in the beginning we were in love. In the beginning we enjoyed each other. In the beginning all was well, but then something happened along the way that caused this emotional disconnect, and all of the fury and the frustration and the desperation that we wind up in. And you have to be able to unpack it. And if you're not able to have that conversation on your own, you need somebody else to navigate that conversation for you, so that you can be in a better place.
Yeah, I got a couple comments here. Tiffany says, yes, it's a must-see. Kiara is saying, it's on Netflix. Tread lightly, though, as it might be triggering for some. And that's a great point to make. I mean, you know what? Some of us actually handle our triggers a lot better than others, but some of us can't watch certain things. One thing I can say, that there's no sex scenes in there. There's intimacy scenes, but no sex scenes. There is cursing, right? I think there's some cursing in there, right? But I mean, the meaning and the message. Sometimes we got to be able to chew up the meat and spit out the bones enough to be able to get the meaning out of the message.
But going back to the point, you when you have this conversation with your spouse, right? You want to ask your spouse, what are your needs? See, a lot of times we're coming to the conversation wanting to tell somebody what our needs are, what I need, what I want, how I want you to show up. And what happens is it becomes this tit for tat, back and forth type of tug of war. Rather than seeking to be understood, seek to understand. Where have I missed the mark? Where have I fallen off? What are your needs? What are you looking for in this relationship? And let them talk uninterrupted. Don't be offended by what they have to say. It is their perspective. It is their experience. And if you're trying to gain insight on how to make the relationship better, you have to be open to what your partner has to say.
Absolutely. And I'll take it one step further to say that sometimes we have somebody who has insatiable needs, right? And if they have insatiable needs, even though you're listening to receive everything that they have to say, and you should do that with no defense, sometimes there's some things that you can't accomplish on your own, which brings us to mediation. And that's why you need to speak to somebody, because sometimes you need to put these issues that are at hand in front of somebody else to help bring balance to it, because the person that has the needs may not be able to see, you know, this is actually your problem. This isn't your spouse's problem. This is actually something that you need to look at within you and work out within you. Once you work that out within you, it won't be a problem at all, and you won't be able to blame your spouse for it or ask your spouse for it, because they can't be the one to give it to you, if that makes sense.
That's a very good point, because a lot of the brokenness that we have in our relationships, we brought into our relationships. So whether it has been from past relationships, up your childhood, your upbringing, we come in broken, fractured.
And we want you to fix it. Like, I want you to fix my hurt. No one loved me. No one complimented me enough. I didn't get hugs. I need hugs all day long. That's not reality. I can't sit down and hug you all day long. I got to go to work. And so you see, and so I know that some of you deal with that, right? I know that you deal with, and then the personality styles that play too, right? Like me and Hassani, I'm more independent. I like my space and time, right? But I gotta balance that. I can't be off by myself all the time, getting my zone on and getting in my zen on. I've gotta have balance, right? And that's what we have to do. We have to find the balance so that we both are served in a relationship.
And when you begin to do that, like literally when you become the best person and the best version of yourself, it impacts your relationship. And so to your point, if you have deficits, you can't have an unrealistic expectation that your spouse is supposed to be there to overcompensate for your deficit.
Sir.
That's putting such a strain on him or her, and that's not what they signed up for. At the end of the day, you got to get what you need to get for yourself.
Yes.
And when you figure out what these deficits are, you operate in self-awareness, you work on who you are, you become your best you, then you become unstuck. So a lot of times we're talking about how do I get unstuck in this relationship, but there's some things within yourself that you got to get unstuck.
Unstick yourself.
Does that make sense?
It sure does.
Unstuck, unstick,
Unstick yourself.
Something. Yeah.
Unbroken yourself.
Unbreakable. Yeah. This is what we're talking about on the Couples Academy show. Listen, we want to know, are you in a broken relationship? Do you feel stuck? In what areas of your relationship do you feel stuck? Is it financially? Is it, I don't know, emotionally? Is it in intimacy? Is it when it comes to communication? We want to hear from you. We'll be right back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. All right, guys, we want to hear from you. We want to know what it is that you're going through in your relationship. So if you have a comment, if you have a question, we want you to tune in, get involved in this conversation. But we want to go to the next point. Listen, you have to decide how much longer you're willing to be unhappy before you accept that it's time to do something different. Now, one of the things that we're talking about is a controlled separation. Now, keep in mind, we do not believe that divorce is the first step. It's got to be the absolute last step when you've exhausted all measures, when you've done everything possible to help resolve that situation. Many of us have a knee-jerk reaction because that's what we saw, right? We saw mom and dad split. We saw aunts and uncles split. Everybody we know, all our friends are divorcing. And that's another interesting point. Like, you become a product of your environment. If everyone you're connected to is in broken relationships and they're divorcing, then that builds up a belief system within yourself. Oh, well, I guess marriage just doesn't work. I need to go ahead and get a divorce too. Well, the reality is you don't have to get to that point. There's so many things along the way that you can do. Obviously, we're talking about counseling, the importance of getting the help that you need. But if you've realized that there's just no way out of this in the present situation that we're in, that's when you sometimes have to take a break. Because when you take a break and get in your own space, you have time to reflect. You have time to work on you. You have time to reevaluate what this relationship is all about and what can be done to make it better if it is possible.
Let's go to the next point.
All right, and the next point, all right, the last point. Remember that every relationship has its ups and downs and that you are not alone in your feelings. And this is why it's so important to be a part of a community, because a lot of times we're on an island all by ourselves and we truly believe that nobody has it as bad as us. Nobody understands. My spouse is the devil. They'll never get it together. But when you begin to communicate with other people who have gone through the same thing, you're like, oh my God, I'm not alone. Somebody can relate to our situation. And so the key is finding couples. The question is, who do you listen to? Who do you listen to? You listen to people who have what you want and have been where you are. Because if you're listening to someone who has what you want, if you want a healthy relationship, you know that there's a pathway to get there.
Yeah.
If they've been where you are, you can relate to them. Oh, they've been in our seat. They've been in our shoes. They've gone through what we've gone through. So if they can make it, it gives me the hope and belief that we can make it too.
Absolutely. And guys, I want to just say this. Please jump in here with your comments and questions. We're low on comments and questions today because we want to get to you on that. But I want to say, when it comes to, you're not alone in the journey and folks going through and thinking that it's just them, that's one of the big benefits to the group sessions that we offer, because people get really scared about coming together in groups thinking, oh, I've got to expose my deepest, darkest secrets. The benefit is that you actually get to glean from other people. I will never forget when Hassani and I went through counseling. It was an intensive process, and I remember the first day when we had to do the roundabout with all these people in there. I was remembering the ride home. I'm like, we ain't doing this. I don't come from that. I'm not cut from that cloth. I don't tell people my business. Like, why do we have to be in the middle of all these people talking and sharing and all that? I'm not saying a thing, okay? But by the third time, I was pouring out, talking, sharing. It was so empowering to actually hear other people's stories as they felt led to share and to connect. No one was ever forced, but there's a benefit to understanding you are not alone. And the benefit of understanding that you will have ups and downs. You will ebb and flow in your relationship. It's not always going to be the peaks. There are going to be valleys. That's what makes a roller coaster so amazing, is that you go up and then you go down, and then you go up and then you go down. What if life was always down? What if life was always up? You would not be able to differentiate between the two. And so you need them both. That's what helps us to grow. I think if we didn't have hurts, we wouldn't even, how could we strengthen ourselves if we didn't have hurt?
That's right.
We need hurt, and every bit of hurt that we have actually makes us a stronger person. So I think it's important to recognize the benefit of sharing and not thinking that you're going at this all by yourself, and that's what we provide.
I agree, and it's so interesting, when we talk about the movie The Dawn Wall. I don't know if any of you have seen that movie, but if not, that's on Netflix as well. And because of the trauma that he went through in his younger years, it prepared him for the struggles he had later on in life. And so sometimes what you've gone through in your past prepares you for what you're going through now. And what you go through is not just for you, it's for someone else as well. So I think what we do, the passion that we have, the purpose that we're fulfilling is a result of the pain that we've gone through. And so that's why we're able to be so authentic and keep it real and have these conversations, because we know where you're at and we know what it takes to get to the other side. We got a lot of comments here. I'm gonna go to Kia. It says, but do you get additional counseling when you need to work on yourself? How much counseling and how many counselors does one need? I don't really know the conversations to have about myself personally. Well, even the Bible says that there's safety in the counsel of many, right? And so there's different aspects of your life. Just keeping it simple. You have your spiritual self, you have your emotional self, you have your intellectual self, you have your physical self. If you have someone that can speak to all four of those areas, great. But if not, having somebody that can guide you through that would be awesome. So you have your relationship with your partner. So that's what being a part of the Moving Forward program and being in that Last Chance Weekend that you and your partner were in would be beneficial. But then there's some personal things in your life, and you want to make sure that there's somebody that can speak into you to help you in your situation.
I want to just jump in here real quick and add that you can find counseling everywhere you go. I've created counseling groups out of my friends where we pour into each other and have truth sessions. That's counseling. You can get counseling through a book. Read that. For those of you that just don't have the means to have 3 counselors all at one time working in your relationship, and then of course having somebody working one-on-one, it's the best, because you don't have to know how to deal with your personal stuff. Your coach is the one that pulls that stuff out of you and helps you to reflect. It shows you the mirror and helps you to reflect on what's going on with you.
All right, guys, listen, there's a lot of comments. We're going to get to them right on the other side of this break. Once again, you're watching the Couples Academy Show. We'll be right back. Sign up today for the Better Marriage Club and receive exclusive access to the private Facebook group to get your questions answered and your problems solved. Access to our marriage library of live seminars. Watch the Couples Academy Daily Show. Call the help hotline for laser coaching. Get our weekly action guides and receive a private one-on-one call with one of our marriage coaches. To join the Better Marriage Club, simply text MARRIAGE to 973-490-4668.
Join today. Your marriage deserves it.
Welcome to the Couples Academy show, guys. You are tuning in today. We're talking about, are you in a stuck relationship? And we have a lot of comments going on. Hassan, you want to read the first comment?
Yeah, this is from Mel. It says, how do I learn my wife more?
Ooh.
She just told me I don't know her. And listen, you could be in a marriage for a long time and be on autopilot and don't really know your spouse. You could be living with a stranger because you're just doing life. And listen, it requires a level of intimacy that you have. Intimacy means into me see, allowing your partner to see inside you.
I think the longer you're married, the less you know your partner because every 7 years you're somebody new, right? I am not the 25-year-old woman that Hassania met. There's going to be so much growth that happens between there. You discover yourself along the way. And so for you to actually have a plan and a mission to always know each other and learn and explore together, number one, we should be intentionally growing and learning and becoming new, right? So that there's always something interesting to explore. So I don't think it's unexpected that we won't know each other. I think it's about getting busy learning, asking those questions. What is it that I don't know about you? How can I learn more about you? And beginning to do those things you used to do when you were dating to get to know someone.
So 2 things you can do. Get a journal, okay? Just get a blank, empty journal and name the journal The Book Of and put your wife's name there, right? So this becomes the book that you will record everything that you learn about your
Tell them
spouse.
about your book.
Start from scratch, right? So I have in my phone and I have a journal of all the things that I know about Danielle, not just like what's your favorite color and what's your favorite food, but you know, when she's pissed, what pisses her off?
Pissed?
When she's happy, what makes her happy? You know, I'll put situations in there and learn from them. You know, in my phone, we have conversations that we've recorded that I may re-listen to get better insight on our situation on her perspective. But doing that is critically important. And I would say get a good book of questions.
Yeah.
If you get a good book of questions, right, you can begin to learn your spouse all over again because the perspective that they had to your point at 25 is different than when you're 35 or 45. So you've got to take the time to relearn all over again.
I love that. Ralph has that moved so fast. Ralph's question, how do you learn to talk when you were always told to shut up when you were growing up and now the spouse wants to communicate? And wow, it makes me think, I have a client that shared this with me, that they were always rushed as a child. Hurry up, rush. And so now they rush through everything, and that's a big problem for their spouse, that they're always racing and rushing to get things done. They don't know any other way. And so sometimes our family marinade, the environment that we were in where we sopped up all of the idiosyncrasies that we have a major contribution into how our personality is shaped, right? And so you have a certain personality style now that you just don't talk. You probably think it. You've probably become a thinker or a head person because guess what? You had to shut up, but your mind never shut up. Everything's going on in your head instead. You have got to learn to undo those things, and this is where personal development comes in. We have to get to a point where we stop blaming our past for our present. Period. Because those things have happened, the past is gone, today is all we have, and we get ourselves into the hands of somebody that can, unearth all those issues and give you some practices so that you can learn to articulate what's in your mind, because it's very difficult to have a loving, connected, intimate relationship with somebody who doesn't talk, share, and isn't open.
That's a good point. And let me just say this. Listen, your childhood, growing up in your household, those are your formidable years. But if you are who you were when you were in your house, that means you stopped growing. So when did you leave your parents' house? Was it 18? Was it 19? Whatever age that was, that means that you stopped growing and developing. So the question is, how do you learn how to communicate? Well, one of the things that we have done, we had a 5-hour masterclass called More Than Words, how to have breakthrough communication in your relationship. 5 hours of complete content, exercises, all types of things. It was a transformational experience for those who were a part of it. So I encourage you to reach out to us so that you can get that, because listen, it's a skill that you can develop. And the more you practice it, repetition makes you better. You get better with time. So reach out to us and we can show you how to get that.
And I think that will be helpful. There was another comment here. Thea, she says, how do I communicate with a husband who doesn't talk? And so something like that would be really useful. And also in that class, you'll learn how to talk to different personality types. And you need to know what his type is. He might be a head person. And if he is, then you don't want to be asking him things like, how does he feel? It's almost like it doesn't compute. You need to be speaking his language. What are you thinking? And that's when you start to open up that box. So there are lots of tips that you'll gain. Find out about it. I think there's a link here for them to get access to that, the More Than Communications.
We could put it in there.
Okay.
Here's another comment from David. Well, me and my wife have separated after 9 years of marriage. I've suggested counseling, but for years she refused. I finally decided to get my own counseling to work on myself. We are co-parenting. And let me just tell you, it's not too late.
Right.
If you're separate, living under two different roofs, but you're still married and you still have children, it is not too late. People have decided to get individual. See, that's what happens. Well, if we're not going to go to counseling, then oh well. But the reality is, if you go to counseling, a lot of times when we're working with individuals, it transitions into couples counseling. Danielle, how many times have we heard spouses say, I'm done, it's over, I'm not interested, he wants counseling, she wants counseling? Not gonna happen. The only counseling we could do is co-parent a child. And then once we get them into the session and we begin unpacking some things, all of a sudden, when there was no hope left, they got reunited and living under the same household, and now have a thriving relationship.
I can't tell
it's
you
the
how
norm.
many. It is the norm. The wives come in there like, I'm done. I'm only working on me. I'm ready to move forward. I just need to get myself together so that I can figure out my next steps in life. And then Hassani have them in the husband in a session. I have the wife in my sessions. And next thing you know, they're wanting to do a couple sessions. So we always say this, it only takes one person to have some hope and to have some faith. And if you have a teeny bit measure of hope, that's all you need. When you're hopeless, it's a lot harder because you just have given up. But if you have a little inkling of hope, that's all you need. We could take that and spin that into so much.
Absolutely.
So trust that part of it.
JD says, I want to find out about the masterclass. Guys, I will put the link. I'll just start sharing it in the description. But yeah, it'll be available. It's $97. It's powerful. We have another one from Tiffany. It's amazing how our childhood traumas show up in our adult lives, but we have to own it, recognize it, and work to recover.
That's it. I say recognize it first, own it second, and then work to recover, because we're in denial. And there's a lot of benefits to being the person that's injured. Somebody's benefited from it. Like sometimes it feels so much better to be the one who can sit down, fold their arms, and do nothing else because of all the people that have hurt them. Once you can recognize, okay, I'm coming to this relationship with a lot of bitterness, with a lot of baggage. Let me work on me. Own it and move forward, and then that's when your whole life can explode.
Absolutely.
So many more options after that.
All right, another comment. Deltrick says, I know my wife feels stuck. She wants a divorce, but is still at home looking for work. I'm working out of town at the moment, which is good, I guess. This is so hard. Just don't know what to do. Well, Deltrick, let's continue our sessions because we need to give you some strategy and implementation on how you begin to turn this thing around. Let me just say, there's so many couples where one is done. Done. It's over. Finito. It's a wrap. They've even filed divorce papers, and there are dates on the calendar, and you're inching across the finish line to get to that end goal of the divorce being over, and then something at the last minute shifts and turns, a call is made, the divorce is stopped, they begin to rekindle, and the more you hear these stories, the more it begins to build up your belief and your faith that there's something possible for you. That's why it's so important to be surrounded by people who are doing well, because you become a product of your environment. And so if you're down and you're low and you've lost hope and you feel helpless, listen, you got to continue to tune in, because there's so many stories. We work with couples every single day who have turned things around.
And, being mindful of what you're receiving every day. Those of you that show up every day, this is good for you, because there's so much negative content out there. I mean, I told Hassani this morning that I jumped into a clubhouse and it was all about people were serving each other and checking one another and arguing. There's other groups that are just talking about, infidelity and dragging their spouses down and all the negativity. Like, that's what you don't need. What you need is to have a place to be like here, where we're feeding you and supplying you with resources, tips, and tools and insight so that you can go back into your marriage and do better every day. So continue to feed yourself on this type of content and you will see improvement.
Guys, I hope this is helping you. We've been talking about what do you do when you're stuck in a miserable marriage? Well, guess what? Get unstuck. Get unstuck. Continue to tune in. Watch these shows with your spouse, right? Talk about it. Engage in a conversation. Get the book, The Audacity of Marriage. If you don't have that book, you need to get it. It's February. This is Love Month.
It is.
Don't you want to invest in your marriage? You can start with investing in a book that will sow deposits into your relationship.
And you know what? There's a lot of you who say that your spouse will not join you on this show. Keep sharing the link with them. Share it every day, because one day there will be a topic that will, trigger something in them. Let me click that and see what's being said. Don't give up on them. Share it every day.
And I'm telling you, he or she's watching.
Yeah.
They may not let you know, but they're watching. And it's planting a seed. And that seed will produce a harvest and grow, and change and transformation can take place in that person's life and in the relationship when you continue. All you need to do is just sow. Let God take care of the rest. Guys, I hope you got something out of it. We will see you tomorrow for another great episode. You're watching the Couples Academy, so we'll see you on Clubhouse a little bit later.
Bye, guys.
Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
If you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you're interested in one of our restoration programs, contact us today at couplesacademy.org.